Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I'm your podcast host, Luke Beastall, and I have a UK guest joining us in our online studio today, Tommy Graves. He is a sleep coach, and I'm actually going to say, I hope she listens to this and watches this episode. Emma actually got us guys sort of connected, and Tommy reached out, we had a great conversation, and I think this episode today is just going to open up a lot of people's eyes. It is probably, I would say, a bit of a taboo topic, probably something that as high performance, as people day to day, business owners, people that are wanting to start a business, family responsibilities, sleep is probably one of those things that we neglect and put at the bottom of the pile. So why not bring on someone who is an expert and has recently traveled the world, specifically being Bali, to actually master his craft, learn from mistakes, and ultimately build this passion of his into a business. So I think it's great. I'm so happy to have you on today, Tommy. I just want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, buddy. That's a lovely, warm welcome. Thank you so much for having me along. Yeah, as you mentioned, we had a chat a couple of weeks ago. I loved every minute. It's brilliant to learn about you and your mission and where we share interests. And we could have gone on for so long. But yeah, I know we're both busy trying to change the world in our own little ways. So it's nice that, we get to revisit so soon.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, we had the chat and, obviously things happen in life where things shift and change. Obviously, I had someone who sort of pulled out of the show, couldn't make it. You as the guy that I first, like I say, reached out to, he was like, yeah, let's do it. And I absolutely love that. I think that's a great trait to have for someone that is, helping people, is being adaptable, right? And being able to sort of step up and say yes to something.
Oh, thank you very much. I will take it. Well, I got your voice note yesterday and I was like, I can't say no. So I thought I'll move around. Like my instinct is, oh no, you've got a to-do list as long as you're on, but you got to prioritize, and having conversations like this and spreading awareness. It is at the top of my priorities list, along the lines of editing some video that's going to get 50 views or whatever it might be.
Well, this might only get 10 views, Tommy. Who knows, mate? But it's still going to be a great conversation that I'm sure our audience who are listening in or watching back are going to take a lot of value from it. So, look, I think we was obviously, and this happens all the time, we have a chat before, no recording, and then boom, says some really good stuff. So we was obviously chatting a little bit about your experience in Bali for 5 months. Could you, because we'll go into sort of what you do and stuff, could you give our audience sort of a bit of context on what made you decide to sort of go and pack your bags and just go out to Bali for 5 months?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I was so tactical or strategic, should I say, about the whole thing. I had all of my different options mapped out of what I wanted to do over the coming months. And I'd been working on solo entrepreneurial projects for about 18 months at that time. So I'd been in my room, head down, stuck into work for way too long, being very antisocial and not having much fun and novelty in my life. It was work. And I thought, right, buddy, you need a change of environment. You need a bit more fun. You need a bit more sunshine. You've been in the UK for too long. A bit of positivity, a bit of optimism around you, some new conversations to grow my brain, but also just feel a little bit more, refreshed and give myself a new perspective. So look, there was a list of like 10 different things that I was considering doing, and Bali ended up being the place that I decided on. So I went there, mainly to, we'll get onto this. You've already explained that I'm a sleep coach. So it's to really fine tune my art. So I could go to Bali. I could figure out exactly who I want to be in the world of sleep. How do I want to present myself? What am I going to be saying? And to pin that down in an environment where nobody actually knows me. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. And everyone is also doing their own little things and are positive about people just trying to make change. So it meant I could go over there for 5 months and do a hell of a lot of experimenting. And then come back being fully certain on who I am in the world of sleep and how I want to speak about this topic and what it really means to me. So yeah, going away to, this place that basically doesn't exist in the real world, and coming back and feeling a lot more confident than I did before I left.
This is really great, actually, Tommy. Thank you for sort of sharing that. And what I've just sort of taken back, and I'm sure the guys listening in and stuff will agree, is that change of environment, being around different energy, obviously different climate, different people, obviously, eventually, going out there as well and people not knowing you from anywhere, like nobody knew who you was actually quite a relief, was actually quite playful. You could be creative, like you say. You wanted to craft your art a little bit more, refine it a little bit more. Obviously you'd been sat probably in four walls, head down, fully locked in. Yeah. And then sort of got a bit to the point of, do you know what, I've got to get out of this place that I'm used to, that I've just been here for like months and months and months. I've got to get out and actually test this, like you say, experiment it with people. If in just like a bit of a summary of 5 months in Bali, what did you sort of learn from that whole experience that you've now taken into your path with sleep back in the UK?
Yeah, so yeah, look, I learned a lot from a personal perspective, because it's the first time that I'd ever gone anywhere by myself and tried to just set up and build a community and make friends and enjoy myself. So that was a biggie. So that was half of it. But obviously in the sleep bit, look, the testing was great. Figuring out how do I explain these things to people. The beautiful thing about Bali is that most people are in the same boat. They don't know loads of people and they all want to meet more people. So the amount of conversations I was having every day, and usually one of the first questions people say is, what do you do?
Okay. Yeah, of course, yeah.
The first couple of times I was asked that, I was like, oh, how do I explain this in a way that people engage with, get excited about? And then by the end of it, I'd got that pinned down, as well as the answers to all of the questions that followed, which are, oh, well, what happens if I wake up at this time in the night? What happens if I struggle to get to sleep? What should I be doing with my phone? So just constantly being quizzed about sleep and who I am and what I want to achieve pushed me into really pinning down exactly what the answers were, which was the fab thing. What was also great to learn was, actually, I think I'm onto something, in that I'd had over 100 conversations about sleep whilst I was in Bali across that 5 months. And there wasn't one who turned around and said, not sure about that, Tommy, not sure if that would be valuable. So Wow. It really helped me feel confident in what I was doing, whereas before it had just been an idea by myself in my room. But now it's, okay, here's 100 people who have said, that's a good idea. I think that would be great if you carry on doing that. The encouragement that I got and the energy that gave me and confidence in myself is just invaluable.
Yeah, I love that. The fact that you've had, obviously, like you just shared there, lots of conversations. You've shared, obviously, maybe when somebody first asked that question, what do you do? A little bit like, oh, don't know, trying to find it. But then, you started to open up a little bit more. It's about getting those reps in and trialing and learning from it. But I think the fact that you have actually got more confidence in what you're doing, and it's giving you more validation from actually being out there, I think is really, really great. When, for you then, obviously you had this idea, you've got this drive now to help people. I would love to know, where did this all come from? Like, what made you think, right, you know what, I'm going to go into sleep. That's something that I want to really get deep on with people.
So I really struggled with my sleep growing up. I really struggled, but it was the norm. It's all I ever knew. I was never taught about sleep at school or by anyone else, really. I didn't understand how it was important or how on earth to do it. So I went through a large chunk of my life up until my early 20s, being terrible at sleep, walking around like a zombie, but not really knowing anything different. Until I got a bit of a reality check in March 2021, where I became really unwell with sleep deprivation. I just wasn't sleeping much. And that ended up with, me being told that I needed to really learn how to sleep. Otherwise, I could become unwell again. So that put me on a journey to learn about this stuff, which I've then been able to take with me now and spread the word about it, because I was forced into gaining that information. I suppose you're probably interested in hearing exactly what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, just you just said there you've always struggled with sleep. From what age then did you actually struggle with sleep? When did it all start?
So I can pinpoint it, and it's quite. I hadn't thought about it until, I've now spent every day for the last year or so thinking about sleep and talking about sleep. And I think I can pin it down to a specific moment. So I was in year 5 and I'd recently got a PlayStation. And this was very exciting. And the problem with my PlayStation was my mum got me my PlayStation and she got me a collection of games, which I was happy with until I went to school and started talking to other people about their games. And they had all the fun ones. They had the Call of Duties, they had the Grand Theft Autos, and I was there with my Little Big Planet, you know?
Yes.
So I was like, right, I'm jealous of these people. That sounds a lot more fun than, me walking around as this sack man. I'd prefer to be shooting people and like driving fast cars. That sounds way more fun. So what I did was I did a swap with someone at school. I swapped one of my PlayStation remotes for Grand Theft Auto, which was very exciting. But the problem was I wasn't allowed Grand Theft Auto, so I had to hide this from my parents.
Okay.
Which meant as soon as I went to bed, the light went off, I pretended to be asleep. The TV came on, it went on mute, I put Grand Theft Auto in, and off I went to play on my PlayStation for the next 2 hours. No wonder when I tried to get to sleep, I wasn't able to get to sleep very easily because I'd been looking at a telly for 2 hours, playing something super duper engaging. And then I guess from there, as I went through teen years, it's scrolling. It's like I remember Snapchat coming out, and I'd lie in bed taking selfies with the screen flashing in my face. Like, of course, now understanding the science behind screen use and sleep, no wonder it took me till 3 o'clock in the morning to get to sleep after putting my phone down. So yeah, it happens from, let's say, the age of 10, and up until early 20s.
So I love that share on the PlayStation stuff and gaming. I mean, I had a few nights where on zombies on Call of Duty and just, bashing it with the friends and stuff like that. So I'm just curious, really, because obviously this is you not knowing, right, for say even 7 years that you were starting to have deprivation of sleep. You couldn't really switch off. Was there any, even throughout that time, Did anyone around you, like school friends or your family, pick up on? Did they say, like, I don't know, like saying you look tired, Tommy, or did you know yourself that you were struggling with sleep and it was having an impact on you?
It's all I ever knew, right? As I say, I thought that was just being a teenager. That you're going to have sleep struggles, you are going to feel tired, and I associated like going to school with being tired. Like that's what happens. You have to get up early in my eyes to go somewhere and do work. That sounds like a tiring thing. So it was a norm. And to be fair, like I understand now what was happening biologically, but I felt all right. As soon as I got going, I sort of felt fine. I could still interact with people. I wasn't like falling asleep mid conversation, but as soon as I stopped, I'd have to have a nap or whatever it might be. So I guess it's quite hard to notice because our body goes into survival mode and pumps us full of adrenaline and cortisol and helps us feel alert and focused through these days. And then when it comes to a time when you stop, it just switches off. So it wasn't super noticeable, but looking back at pictures of stuff, like you can see my face is really puffy, and like I look at the characteristics that I had, they're just like, okay, you're chronically sleep deprived, mate.
What was Tommy like then? Back then, when he was chronically sleep deprived, what was your personality like? What was you like day to day? Was you quiet? Was you sort of out there? Yeah, just tell us about that.
I was quite out there growing up. I was probably more out there then than I am now.
Okay.
In that, I had a load of confidence. So like I did musical theatre growing up. So I on a Saturday I was singing, dancing, acting, learning how to be on stage in front of people performing. I loved, picking up new accents and trying out new accents and being a bit of a class clown. Like that was my role. And so therefore, I was tired, but I was spending all day being a bit daft. So it kept me energetic. But I suppose the qualities that I had that to me now signal sleep deprivation are probably a bit more temperamental. if something went wrong, I'd find it harder to deal with the stress that came with that and the emotions that came with that. Not that I was ever horrible, but I'd be more likely to feel sad or like feel frustrated over things that were small. Motivation wise, I found it really hard to stick to anything. So I'd be like, right, okay, I need to lose some weight. Okay, day 3 of trying to lose some weight, and that was me. That's my motivation done. I just decided to concede and not crack on with it. Same with sticking to fitness plans. Really struggled with that. Positivity in general, yeah, I was a bit of a clown, but I'd like to spin things in a negative direction, which all to me shout, yeah, sleep deprivation now, but at the time it was just, part of growing up.
Yeah, so this is good because obviously I think at that age as well, you're sort of trying to find yourself and you're getting in tune with your emotions. I'm just curious, with people that actually are out there, at the clown and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying this is the case with you, and maybe you can give us a bit more context, but was you hiding from something, Tommy? Was this something that you was that like laughing and being out there and singing and dancing, hiding pain? Was it hiding any sort of, your real person or anything like that? Or was it just very much that was who you are and you just sort of getting through day to day?
To be fair, no, I don't see it as me hiding anything. I think it's me just thinking, oh, this works. When I do these things, people laugh, they give me more attention. That feels wicked. That helps me socially. And therefore I'm just going to carry on doing it. And the more I did it, the more practice I got, the more reps I got in. And I'm actually quite a good class clown now. I'm getting a good response. So yeah, I guess it was yeah, it just felt good to be that character, and I could do it a bit more naturally than others. So I honed in on that skill. But yeah, it made school a lot more fun, but I probably didn't consume as much information as I'd have liked to, unfortunately, Luke. But there's time to make up for that. It takes a lot longer when you're an adult, I guess.
I love the honesty, though. I think it's great. You can call yourself the class clown, but, obviously for you had a skill. What do you think? I mean, I don't know if you know, but I guess you would have got feedback from teachers and stuff. When you was doing all the acting, the singing, and being this sort of confident, outspoken guy at school, what did they used to sort of say about you as a character? And I'd just love to know.
Yeah, it's like my school reports were always an interesting read, or parents' evenings were told a similar story. So there were some teachers that just hated me, and they were like, "This is just really annoying. This is making my job very hard, and it's not benefiting the class at all." Fair enough, okay, I back them now. But then there was some teachers who were like, "Look, Tommy is a really nice lad, and he is he's fun to be around. He's clever. He's got high potential, but he just doesn't apply himself." So there's always that kind of, he just doesn't apply himself. But I got along very well with a lot of my teachers, and they would have probably preferred to spend time with me over a lot of the rest of the class. No offense to everyone else, because I'd have a proper chat with them. I'd test them a little bit, and I'd be a bit funny, and I'd ask more interesting questions. But in a classroom environment, that isn't where I had fun, and I knew that I could have fun if I started telling jokes.
All right, then give us a joke, Tommy.
Yeah,
one of your favorites.
Just a general joke.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I was ready.
Go.
So, what is the best gift that you could probably get?
I don't know. I don't know. There's so much. For me, would be probably a High Rocks ticket, mate. Sorry.
A High Rocks ticket.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. The funny thing, Luke? I was told this joke the other day, and I've forgotten the punchline. All I know is something to do with a drum, and the answer is because it's unbeatable.
But yes.
It would have been good if I remember the punchline. Let me quickly get a good one in, though, because this is my favourite.
Okay,
What is round and sounds like a trumpet?
Oh, go on.
A crumpet.
Oh, God. Boom, boom, boom. Nah, I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, do you know what? That proper suits you in just what you sort of said there, Tommy. I like that. I think it's those ones where, it probably, to some people, it'd be a delayed laugh, or some people just like literally choke up the water or something if they were trying to have a drink or something. That's brilliant. But what I'm sort of just hearing from you, just from what you shared so far, which I think is brilliant, is you lived a lot of your teen life in overstimulation. Like you was just completely wired, to the point where it was like you didn't know whether you were coming or going. Because if you sort of hear about those years, I've asked some questions and you've sort of said I was just going through it. It didn't really happen until. So it was as though it was like the life was a bit of a blur point. It was just very much like I'm showing up as Tommy. I'm constantly like stimulating with my phone, stimulating with the PlayStation, and then stimulating with just being out there in person. That, like I say, will take its toll on anybody. So bring us to 2021, like that breakdown moment, that point where something had to give. What happened there? When did that start to sort of come to light that you're like, wow, I'm not good?
Yeah, so it was 2021. I was just doing my masters at uni. It was COVID times, and I was living my life. To be honest, I probably had better years than most during COVID because I was at uni. I was down the road from a lot of my friends, and we could tiptoe out at night and go and see each other and still have fun and go in the basement and play some loud music and have a few beers. And I had a great time. And look, I was a bit of a party boy back in the day, so I'd be out late on the weekends. I was a DJ for a while, but
Oh,
otherwise I
nice.
was attending. So that was fun, but it meant that, okay, I have to be there until the end because everyone's relying on me to have their fun. So I was up till 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning just until the last person stopped dancing, sort of thing. But it was very fun. I didn't have a clue how much that was scuppering my sleep and what an impact it had. So look, I went out one weekend. I was out on Friday night and then I was out on Saturday night. And then on the Sunday, I was severely hungover. Went to a mate's barbecue, got home. So it was a busy weekend and I was knackered. And then on the Sunday night, I really struggled to sleep. My next door neighbours were having a house party. So I was there lying in bed, fingers in my ears. Anyway, I did manage to get some sleep. I did drift off for bits and bobs, but I was tired on the Monday. Like big weekend followed by not a great night's sleep on the Sunday. I was then I was studying this master's in events management. I wanted to manage events, I suppose. And it had come to near the end of our year, and we had one big project left, which was to organise a online event. So it was COVID. We would have done it in person otherwise, but it was COVID. So yeah, we did it online. So me and the rest of the gang got our heads together. How are we going to design this online event? And we had a target to raise £100 for a local homeless charity, which I thought, £100? We've got like 4 weeks and there's 6 of us. Like we could organise that in 20 minutes if we really put our heads together.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, we can definitely do better than that. So after our first meeting, I went off and started putting together a bit of a master plan. My phone basically didn't leave my hand because I was ringing anyone I thought could potentially help. Now, my background in the performance and events industry meant I knew some DJs, I knew some dancers, I knew some singers, and I was thinking, who can we get on this event to perform for the people who would pay X amount to come and watch? And it was brilliant. So many people were keen. It was COVID. It's like, what else am I going to do? Of course, I'll get involved. It was quite an exciting, weird time in our history, in our lives that I'm sure we'll all remember. But it just got better and better, this plan, and more exciting. But the bigger the plan got, the more stressed I got about it, but the more excited I got, which meant that I found it really hard to sleep. In fact, I couldn't sleep at all. For quite a while. So by day 2 of me not being able to sleep but working tirelessly on this thing, I had another group meeting with the guys. I was like, right, this is what we're going to do. I've got this person involved, I've got that person involved. This is an idea. We could do this and we could raise loads more money. And everyone was like, I don't know about that, Tommy. It sounds like a lot of work. I think maybe we just stick to the bare minimum. So I thought, that's not really my style. I'm going to leave you guys to that. I'm going to go and make this happen. So off I went on a little solo adventure to make this live streamed event as good as it possibly could and raise as much money as I could. So I got very excited at the prospect of rocking up to this homeless charity with a massive bag of cash and being like, go on, sort that out. And yeah, I'd get the glory of putting on something so amazing. Anyway, days went on and days went on and days went on. Not sleeping because I just couldn't switch my brain off. The more excited I got, the more stressed I got, the harder I found it to switch off. And I'd toss and I'd turn and I'd toss and I'd turn. So it would follow a script of I'd try to sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours, not sleep, get out of bed, work for 16 hours tirelessly, get back into bed, not be able to sleep, get out of bed, work for 16 hours tirelessly over and over and over again. So that went on for quite a while. By day 5, my plan has gone from wanting to raise a target of £100 to wanting to raise a target of £66 million.
Wow,
and the
specific.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of theory behind it. It was quite a complex plan by this point. So that was the equivalent of £1 for every person in the UK.
Yeah.
So the whole concept was that everyone gives the equivalent of £1. And if you can't afford £1, then you're someone that we're going to help. So there was a whole day called Quids In that I was going to call it.
All right.
And so one day a year, everyone gives a quid or contributes on behalf of other people. The aim every year is to raise £66 million. And actually, it made a load of sense. Like, I can explain it now. The strategy behind it was so complex, but yeah, so coherent. I am still amazed what my brain managed to do with 5 days without sleep. But the chances of me making that happen as a one-man band after 5 days no rest is near impossible. It wasn't until day 6, though, that things got really quite delusional. So by day 6, I was sent up to hospital in an ambulance, and I was admitted to a mental health hospital. I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act. And by this point, I was going to be raising that £66 million. But I not only had a plan for that, I had a plan how we could end racism and sexism and cure cancer and end wars and all of these amazing things. Basically, I wanted to solve all world problems with this strategy that I'd put together. But not only was I delusional about what I was going to be able to achieve by myself 6 days without sleep, but I was delusional about where I even was. I didn't even know where I was. I was in hospital, but by this point, I actually thought that I was in a TV studio and that this live event, this online event that I was organising on day 1 had actually begun. And I was the one who needed to tell everybody at home all the amazing things we could do if we all just worked together and we were more selfless instead of selfish. So I was, hearing and seeing and thinking things that were just far from reality by that point. And that was on day 6. I'm not sure if you want to butt in at any point before I carry on with it.
No, keep rolling, mate. I like this.
Keep rolling. Cool. So we're at day 6. I'm in hospital, but I think I'm in a telly studio. The reason that I thought that was because by this point I was experiencing psychosis. And that was it had been brought on by a combination of sleep deprivation and stress. And a symptom of psychosis is that your dopamine regulation all goes to pot. And dopamine is a hormone that gives things meaning. So our brain releases it when we see a plate of food and it makes that look meaningful to us. Okay. Or if we're looking at a video, we get a little dopamine release. It makes us feel like it has meaning. It motivates us to carry on scrolling because, it makes things meaningful. Anyhow, my dopamine regulation went all to pot because of my sleep deprivation, which meant I was finding random things meaningful and seeing meaning that other people couldn't see in it. So that combined with my prefrontal cortex becoming weaker because of the sleep deprivation. In fact, it was basically turned off. And your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that makes decisions and thinks about things and considers whether something is right and wrong. So basically, I'd lost the ability to consider whether something's right and wrong. And I was finding random things meaningful. And that meant that I was in this hospital, but instead of thinking I was in a hospital, I thought I was in a TV studio because there was bars on the window. And instead of thinking that's because I'm in a mental health hospital, I thought, okay, so this must be a really high tech place. They're keeping people out, and there must be a lot of money's worth of kit in here. Okay, there's CCTV cameras. Ah, well, maybe that means that that feed is getting streamed elsewhere, and these cameras are for me. Okay, well, oh, look at my bed. Well, they're calling it a bed, but it looks like one of them crash mats that I used to have at school for gymnastics. Maybe that's there in case I need to do any stunts. So all of these things were adding together and like just not making sense in my head to the point where, I thought I was on telly. I mean, one of the nurses looked exactly like someone that's in Benidorm on telly. So I was like, hey, what are you doing here? So I thought, oh, they're actors. They must be actors. I know she is. I've seen her many a time on the telly. This spirals out of control to me just having no doubt about what was happening. I thought, I am definitely doing this thing. It's all amazing. I felt incredible. I felt so awesome. The energy and the confidence that I had after so many days without sleep was epic. And I thought I was going to solve all of these world problems, which was super exciting. At one point, I thought I was going for a meeting with the Queen. So it got to mad. Like looking back on it, I'm like, whoa, what on earth was that, Tommy? But quite, funny to look back on and try and make positive, I guess.
Yeah, how can you remember that, Tommy?
I can remember all of that more than any other moment in my life.
Mad. Because remember, though, like, obviously we was chatting earlier about sort of those nights that you were sort of, really tired, and you can't remember putting a finger on it that you didn't know, but then this sort of, like, say, psychosis part where you genuinely thought you was on a TV show and your dream was coming to light and like having a massive impact on the world. That to me is quite interesting how the brain can actually work, right? I have got one question, and I wanted you to keep rolling because I just love this story, and please do continue after. Who called up the ambulance?
So by this point, I was at uni on like day 4. I'd spoken to my parents about this event that I was going to be running.
Yeah.
So my parents were like, "Look, that sounds like quite serious." Like they didn't think that I was unwell at this point. They thought, bloody hell, Tommy is working on something. Let's get him home.
Yeah.
And like, let's support him in this thing. And like, they were just genuinely really curious, like a bit apprehensive, but a bit excited. Like, wow, that actually sounds like quite a cool idea. Let's get him somewhere comfortable. And there was also people that I wanted to speak to up north, where I'm from in the Lake District. So my dad came to get me at the start of day 5 and took me up home. No, my dad came to get me at the start of day 4, took me home, and then there was some warning signs like, why can't Tommy get to sleep? Like, as much as we tried, there was one point where I was lying in bed with my mum on one side, my sister on the other, and we were doing breathing exercises together to try and get me to sleep. And we put on calm music, and this was at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, to the point where my mum was like, I'm just gonna call someone. And so she rang a family friend and spoke to them about what was going on. They said, go and get him checked out, because that sounds a little bit worrying.
Right.
Like, he should be able to, if he's not slept for 4 days, 5 days nearly, like, the lad needs checked out. So they took me down to the hospital. Down at the hospital, they diagnosed me with whatever they did at the time. And then it was basically just a game of waiting for an ambulance to take me up and waiting for a space for me to be able to be admitted to a hospital. And so to get me up to the hospital, what they did was they told me that I had to go for an important meeting, because at this point I thought that, stuff was happening and my plans were escalating more than they actually were. So they said, look, Tommy, like, we need to get you to have this important meeting. Get in the back of this ambulance. We'll put the lights on. We'll make sure we get you there quickly. So they were almost playing along with the story then, because it was the only way they could get me up there. So when I arrived to this mental health hospital, I was under the impression that I was waiting to go for an important meeting. So I was just mulling about this place like, they were like, yeah, you'll have your meeting soon, sort of thing. I was like, when's this meeting going to happen? And which is why that fueled it, because someone had told me that. And then I kept on to that. I saw a load of meaning in that and took it very seriously, to the point where, look, for the next 2 days, which it was, I was just rooting for this meeting, just waiting for it to happen and performing to the nation whilst I was waiting for that.
But you was in hospital.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah,
That
literally.
the fact, yeah, like they probably thought, right, let's keep this overstimulated, energetic guy that's a man on a mission calm by giving him probably and telling him what he wants to hear, just to keep him in there without running away, and sort of
Yeah.
banging your head against all the walls and stuff. That's mental. So obviously for you then, obviously being admitted, when was that moment that you realised, I'm not on a TV show, I'm not well, I need some help?
A while. So it took me a while to come back really. So sort of day 6 wise where we left, that was when I was admitted. And then look, they were just telling me like, no, like that's not right. Some people would tell me that, and some people would tell me things that confuse me as well. Like, oh, if you carry on like this, mate, you'll get an Oscar, which is where I'm like, wow, okay. If I'll get an Oscar, then I am going to carry on like this. So yeah, that carried on for like 2 days in hospital. I was completely gone. To the point of needing to be sedated. Like the police came, I was like standing on a roof in the courtyard. The police came, had to get me down, and then like tried sedating me, but the sedative didn't work. So they left, and I like woke up, and I just carried on going for like 48 hours. Anyway, when did I realize that things, weren't real? I can't remember the first week of. I was moved. Sorry, I'm just trying to answer this in a way that there's going to be make the most sense really, so you understand the full picture. So I was in hospital A up until day 8, where they managed to get me to sleep. I was then moved to hospital B, which was the highest level of care that you can get in the UK. So I was then in hospital B for 4 weeks. For the first week of that, I couldn't tell you what happened. I have no clue. I was so like medicated that it is all a blur. I have no recollection. When I came back to consciousness, when I can remember things, I was still like very confused. I couldn't get my head around what had happened, what was real, what wasn't real. I was being told it wasn't real, and that I was in a mental health hospital, and I was given a lot of different education on where I was and what was going on and whatever, but I didn't fully believe it. I was like, surely not. I was so confident in all of that stuff. Then it got to a point where I was like, where they thought, okay, he's nearly ready to go home now. And I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, yeah, maybe something a bit weird has gone on here. Maybe I have been unwell, but I still had my doubts. Like it was all so certain at the time. I was like, how can this be false? Everyone's lying to me, so everyone could be lying to me. I was literally like a day off being discharged, and then an incident happened in the hospital where another patient had basically like been really aggressive, and it meant that there was like a bit of an altercation between us both, in that he was throwing pool balls at members of staff, and I had to basically run over and restrain him because he was hitting staff with pool balls like it was carnage. So I had to restrain him, and then I just, they sorted it out and whatever. Comes to the next day, and because that had made me feel stressed, that had reactivated something in my brain that started my dopamine firing at the wrong times again. It heightened my nervous system, which made me manic. And that actually ended up with like a reasonably severe relapse that lasted about 36 hours. Well, I was back thinking, oh no, I must be right. This is all wrong. This is a TV show, dear. The Queen is in the room next door. I just need to go and see her. Oh, X, Y, and Z are these things that were just completely wrong. So that was after 2 weeks. So then I had to recover from that relapse. And so it was only a couple of days before, at the end of week 4, when I was discharged, that I actually started figuring out that, okay, I've been really unwell and I need to just start looking after myself now. But even like, I remember coming out of hospital, there was still like doubts in my mind because of how real everything seems to me.
Yeah, I think in your mind, I mean, if you talk about it out loud as well, and act as though you are in that actual place and you're in a completely different environment. I just, it's quite, for me, listening to your story here, just what you've shared. I'm like, that's mad. It's mental how, your mind can do that to somebody. But I do believe it as well. And obviously you went through your journey and, by the way, love the fact that you actually helped the staff out by restraining somebody throwing pool balls, because that is like mad. Just for anyone sort of listening into this, obviously you've been through a lot. We'll sort of go on to the part that sort of got you out of it and where you are today. But how old was you, Tommy, when you was going through this?
Just need to do some maths. I was about 22. Yeah, 22. So it's coming up 5 years in March.
Wow, so 22 years old to go through that, though,
Yeah, it's tough. So I was reading about psychosis recently and what the stats are. So about 2 to 3% of people will ever experience psychosis in their life, and it is most prominent, just not super duper prominent, but most prominent in lads between the ages of 18 and 30, because it's a time where a lot is changing, and we have significant change in our life, and the way that we're built means that we're hyper aroused or whatever from a nervous system perspective, and we've got plenty going on in our minds and certain expectations from society to do things, and there's plenty of worries going on which force lads at that age, in that period of life, to think outside the box and really push themselves at things, which then can end up exploding like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember you sharing this when we had the conversation actually on the phone about the sort of stats and stuff like that. And do you know what? Even you sharing what you shared today, Tommy, there might be somebody even listening in or know someone that may be, struggling with something similar. May not necessarily be titled as psychosis, but they might not even know it might be undiagnosed. So for you, when you got, I'd just love to know the journey now coming out of the hospital and going onto this path of, you was events management. That was sort of your dream, the TV show. But you've become this sleep coach, obviously through your own experience of struggles. But what did you have to do to become this sleep coach?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be here doing this, saying this, if I didn't go through that traumatic experience, because I needed that kick up the arse, really. So yeah, I phrase it as the best thing, but the worst thing that ever happened to me. Or should I say the other way around? The worst thing that ever happened to me, but the best thing. Like, my life is so much better than it would have ever been being sleep deprived. So, like, I'm happy to take the hit and have the trauma and just to look at it positively, because it means I've ended up where I am now. So look, so you just hoping to understand, like, how did he end up here? So when I was discharged, my doctor told me that I needed to learn how to sleep, otherwise I could risk losing sense of reality again. But next time I might not come back to the real world, which was absolutely petrifying. Like, I had a horrible time in that hospital. It was so scary. I can't put it into words, mate. Like it, I lost all of my free will for 4 weeks. All I wanted to do was get out of there, but everyone that I spoke to said, sorry, Tommy, you just can't leave. I was a smoker at the time. I wasn't allowed a cigarette. I wasn't allowed to speak to certain people in the hospital. Everyone was telling me things that just made me, feel like a child, like a prisoner. It was horrible. And the other patients that were in there, as you've heard, were somewhat problematic, and they were saying and doing things that made me feel really... Sorry, mate. I've ended up going on a tangent, but basically, I did not want to end up back there.
Of course.
So I needed to learn how to sleep, but it was bloody hard. Really hard to learn science with a sleep-deprived brain, which is full of medication. That literally the medication was antipsychotic and mood stabilizers, which basically dumb down your brain. They stop you from thinking outside of the box. They stop this from working as fast. So try learning science. I was rubbish at science anyway at school. I had to take combined science, so I was already on the back foot. Learn about science with mushy brain from sleep deprivation and medication, and the confidence had gone from thinking I was capable of solving all the world problems to thinking I was capable of doing absolutely nothing. Like, going through that and realizing how vulnerable I was an absolute state. I'd gone from class clown to just like, I don't think I can do anything ever again. So going from yeah, trying to learn how to sleep without was really tough. But look, with time and support from some incredible people, things got a little bit better. Things got a little bit better, and um, it took me a while to learn how to sleep because my brain still wasn't working great for quite a couple of years. So I'll come into me learning how to sleep. I'll tell you what happened before I learned how to sleep. So look, what really helped was giving myself little bits of evidence that I could do things. So it was me having to increase my confidence before I even tried to learn how to sleep, because trying to learn how to sleep with zero confidence was actually going to be a real struggle for me. There wasn't anything out there that made it easy. So I got little tiny bits of evidence, whether it was going for a drive by myself in my car. That was like a piece of evidence. I remember, okay, I can do this thing that like has been a big move since being discharged. My doctor told me that I wasn't going to, or that I shouldn't work full time for 3 years. But within like 4 or 5 months, I had got a full time job in London, moved away from home. And it's like, okay, this is scary, but I'm doing this thing. I'm not going to put my life on hold. And being able to do that and survive it and be okay is like, right, that's a huge bit of evidence that everything's all right and that I can do these things. My doctor told me that I should forget my master's, just leave it behind. It's what got me in the hospital in the first place. But after 8 months, after being discharged, I completed my master's. I got a distinction. And that was another piece of evidence that, you know what, actually, I still can do hard things if I take it a bit slower and try to look after myself. And then finally, thank you. The bit that sealed the deal for me is I was told that I'd be on this medication that just shut my brain off. I was told that I'd be on it for 3 years. But after 12 months, I'd got off my medication. So that was the piece of evidence that I needed to be like, right, I'm free. My brain is back to, being mine, and I can try and do some good stuff with it. But I was still struggling to sleep at that point because I'd never been taught how to sleep. And I really, I didn't pay enough attention. The tipping point was making a change in my routine, in how much I was prioritizing wellness. So I started a running plan. And by starting a running plan, it meant that I was in a better routine. So I was going, I was getting up early for a run, and I was going to bed early because I had a run the next day. So that meant my routine got better, which meant my sleep naturally got better because I was also tired from the running. So I was getting to sleep quicker. And the better I slept, the better my running got, and the more motivated I got, which meant that actually my brain started working a lot better. I was sleeping better. I could start learning more about sleep and nutrition and exercise. My brain actually started working in a way that could consume science, which was hilarious. And then I could actually learn more how to sleep. And so yeah, it went on from there. Let's say 3 years ago that I actually started learning how to sleep. And it's a process and taken me up until now. But the more I learned, the better I got at it, the more I was able to learn and the more other things that I was able to do.
Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, there's a question I want to ask you, Tommy, just off the back of that change that you made, by the way. I mean, congrats on the achievements that obviously rebuilt that confidence, which it's like you had this confidence, you lost it all, and then you started rebuilding it. What, at that moment where you was at, what did running give back to you by doing it?
Sorry, go again with that. You might have to rephrase it to understand.
So what did running give back to you? So obviously you'd stated that it was sort of a place where you got up, you had a run, it tired you out, you went to sleep, you woke up the next day, it gave you motivation. I'm just wondering what running gave back to you. Like, what did it mean to you? Because obviously it would have released dopamine, like you say, it would have been meaningful for you to look forward to the next day to go out and run again.
Yeah, I guess I just got really gassed at the evidence that I could do something that was hard. So this actually came. I was a keen smoker back in the day, Luke. So I used to have 10, 15 cigarettes a day, which meant that I was never a runner. I was never a runner. There's no point. I just started wheezing, and that was me after 500 meters. So I never considered that I'd ever be able to do running, something that I'd enjoy. But but I read a book to stop smoking. Alan Carr's The Easy Way. Not affiliated, of course, but like I read that and I stopped smoking. And I tried for years and years and years to stop smoking. And I read that book and I stopped. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I can do that. Let me just have a go at this running thing. And then the first time I ran, I was like, I'm just going to see how far I can run. Thinking, okay, in 12 weeks, I want to be able to run a 5K. But the first run, I ran a 5K. I was like, what on earth is going on? I can run. My lungs work. I didn't know they could do this. So I thought it was hilarious every time I went on a run and just upped my personal best, just finding out what my body could do if it actually had its lungs. So by doing that, I got very excited about it. My mate set me a target of doing a half marathon in 12 weeks that I'd committed to against my own will. I was like, that is just impossible. How would I ever be able to do that? But doing the sessions and finishing them and actually being like, no, that's evidence of me being able to do this hard thing that I didn't think I was able to do, just made me ecstatic. It made me feel badass. It made me feel like someone who was able to achieve things with their body. So, yeah, I grew to really, really love it. And it became a very important part of my schedule because, yeah, it gave me clear evidence that I'm someone that can do hard things and I'm moving forward and I'm making progress and I'm feeling good.
That's really good. I think it helped you be in the moment as well, though, Tommy. I think it sort of like slowed you down. It gave you that break away from just being in a room, right? So it sounds very much like you've been in rooms, a lot of different rooms, but sort of indoors, right? I'm just talking about hospital. I'm talking about working in uni rooms and stuff, but you got outdoors and it was just you, and it was just that sort of moment of release. You got to let your thoughts sort of, I don't know, maybe slow down, maybe you got to stop thinking about stuff. And then obviously you had a bit of accountability, your friends sort of said, hey, Tommy, I think you can do an half marathon in 12 weeks. And then so it's a bit of a stimulation, but purpose actually to go, oh, okay, I've got something to sort of work towards. This actually really goes well in, and I guess what we're going to like sort of delve into next is you then now, well, actually, building up this confidence to be able to help others. You've lived the experience. You've lived, like you say, you had like a very, very traumatic. It felt the worst thing at the time, but you've flipped it on its head and it's been the best thing that's ever happened to you. So for you now being a coach, what has that done for you as an individual, and what has it helped others with the most as a result of it looking after you really and filling your cup up?
Yeah, so the coaching itself, how does being a coach help me?
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It feels incredible I've just never had this before, Luke. Like I always relied on my sense of humor. That was my superpower. I could go into a room, I might not know anything that anyone's ever talking about, but I could make them laugh. So I knew that I had that in the back, but I was never going to give anyone any information that they could take away with them and find valuable other than a good joke. So it's still a novelty that I go into a room and I give people information that they've never heard before, and they go and change their lives with that information for the better. Like, whoa. This is long-term positivity. I was always just making quick jokes in the second, and that's nice. You get that gratification, but this is positive change for the rest of these people's lives. That makes me feel absolutely ecstatic. So cool that I'm able to make an impact on the world, because I always wanted to make an impact on the world. That's why I was so enthusiastic about things.
Yes.
But to actually be able to do it and to see clear evidence of people living happier, healthier, more successful lives because of just little nuggets of information that I'm sharing makes me feel incredible and very proud as well. I think recently I'm having to harness the feeling of being proud and letting myself do that.
I think that's good. It's not an egotistical thing, Tom. I think it's just you actually, you've got something that you're absolutely great at, and you should give yourself credit. Obviously you've done a lot of pleasing others, make sure everyone else is happy, but actually it's great that you're feeling good about yourself so that you can serve others to a high level, right? You can deliver that service at a better standard, that the results are better, there's more impact. I can really see and feel as well, and I'm sure the guys listening to this, that you always wanted to be someone that helped people and globally as well, and hit people and make sure that they're aware that, there is a way. You know, it is possible. So I know this is just such a, I guess, a wide question, if you want to call it, in a way. If there's one like sort of piece of information that you could give our audience from your expertise in sleep that probably isn't spoken about enough, what would that be?
I'm gonna do two because I'm cheeky.
Go on then.
The first thing, the thing that isn't spoken about enough is the fact that it's normal to wake up in the middle of the night. So all of us will wake up around about 4 to 6 times on average in the middle of the night. It's only a problem if you think it's a problem. Most people don't remember it because they don't see it as a problem. They don't remember that time because they've not engaged their brain or with their environment, so they go back to sleep. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you're conscious of it and you see it as a problem, then that's when your brain starts going, you start feeling more stressed, you find it hard to get back to sleep. So it's incredible how many people don't know that piece of information and how impactful that can be to midnight awakenings when people wake up and can actually now go back to sleep because it's not stressing them out because they remind themselves this is normal. Everybody else is doing it. So that's a nice little nugget that I like to share with people because it always makes positive change.
That's actually really good. I didn't know that. I mean, you know, I do wake up for a pee. I know that for sure sometimes, not every night, but I generally wake up with a full bladder. But the fact that that is a bit of information I didn't know about that. Was there anything else you wanted to expand on that, Tommy? Or was that the main thing?
So that was one of the two. The thing that I'm hammering home about at the moment, or that is interesting me so much, is the fact that, look, I go and run workshops and there's X amount of there's a cap on the impact of the workshops that I run at the moment. And it's nothing to do with how I run it and what I'm saying. The cap is down to our culture in the UK.
Right.
Because people come to my talks and the most important piece of information that I share is how important it is to keep a consistent sleep schedule. Go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day, around about. British culture is built against this. It's the norm to get up early through the week and then on the weekends to have a lie-in and to have a late night out. And that means that people are flying across 2, 3, 4 time zones every weekend. No wonder it comes to Monday morning and they feel jet lagged. Monday morning blues. Okay, it's called social jet lag, and it plays havoc with all of the systems in your body, mental health and physical health. It has an impact. It's related to every single main mental health difficulty, either as something that makes the symptoms worse or a core driver in that mental health problem existing in the first place. So just people moving their schedules around has a huge impact. But our culture is built against it, right? So I'm on a mission to, I need to do my education, but I can only educate and make impact to a certain amount until that culture changes. So how can we create a country where it's normal to go out at lunchtime instead of at 9 p.m.? Okay, it's normal to get up at a good time on the weekend and go and live your day and experience, what it feels like to be up in the morning on the weekend instead of like why are people getting up early through the week for their boss but not early on the weekend for life? So it's changing these cultural norms that we've got ingrained, and I'm really hoping to encourage people to question these norms and say next time they're invited to go out for a meal at 8 p.m. to say, maybe we could go out at 6 p.m. Why don't we go out at 6? Is everyone free at 6? Maybe we'll feel a lot better tomorrow if we're not eating so late.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to the pub at 9 a.m.? Instead of 9 p.m, have 12 hours of fun. And then obviously 9 a.m. sounds a little bit irresponsible, but you get my drift in that it's like, okay, let's go and have a full day of fun, but still manage to get home, have a good night's sleep and not mess our schedule around. So we feel decent on the Monday and we can have full access to our brain and our body so we can achieve the things that we really want to achieve instead of just these cultural norms setting us back every weekend.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I love that. Shout it louder from the back. That is for sure on that. What was sort of literally, there was loads of things going through my mind, like scenarios, things I've heard. But I just want to sort of share this as a dad. And I'm sure parents will remember this or maybe catch glimpses of it when your baby's a baby, right? They love routine, right? Bath, bottle, bed. And they love to go to sleep at the same time or around about the same time. Obviously, yes, they can wake through the night if they need a feed, but generally speaking, I mean, our daughter, she is in bed for no later than 7 o'clock at night, and she gets up at 6:45. She has an alarm clock. She's sometimes up at 6:20, but she's still sat in bed talking, playing, whatever. She gets up at 7:15 every single day. And that's the routine. And the difference in her moods, the difference in her energy, her digestion, just every single thing. I mean, obviously, I know this through my fitness journey and doing it, day to day in my craft, but just, we know this, we know this as adults. We knew that when we was younger. Like, our parents would have said to us, we had to get you in bed at that time, and then you got you sleep because that made you a better person to be around. But then, like you say, we get into that societal norm and conditioning, and somebody's saying, oh, you're boring. I mean, even that is interesting as well. I mean, just got, again, a bit of a tangent from my side, is that, like, for me now, if I'm going out with friends, and I'm sure some people will agree with this, and I don't know whether you will or not, but I prefer like a day session than I do an evening session. I find it more fun. I like knowing that, like what you were saying earlier, go out at 12, you can be back by 8 o'clock, you've had your fun, you've gone out and had a few drinks, played golf simulation, played darts, whatever, and then you've had a takeaway, you're back home, and you're not, like you say, you're not hanging out your arse. Sunday morning, you get up and crack on with your day.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a big advocate for the day session. I think it makes so much sense. Like, I used to spend hours every weekend just twiddling my thumbs, waiting for the fun to begin. Why didn't we all just meet earlier, have more fun, and then not feel pants the next day? It's like, if you got 2 days off a week, do you want to have 2 days or just like one and a bit? It's like one and then feel like mush. It's like, oh, okay, just have 2 day sessions if you want. It's going to feel a lot better on the Monday. Hey, but a big advocate. It's interesting when you said it about kids and like bedtime and routine, and like, look, as human beings, full stop, like, we thrive from consistency.
Sure.
But I think the fact that we associate bedtimes with being a child is counterproductive when it comes to having good sleep as an adult, because you get to a certain point and then it's a privilege not to have a bedtime, and you see it as being a real positive thing to have free range on when you decide to go to bed. And therefore, when you get past that point, it's normal to subconsciously think, well, I'm not going to do that thing that I used to do, that I feel like I've broken free from now that I've become an adult. I'm not going to do that thing that's associated with being a child, when actually we could do with it just as much. And would feel a lot better because of it. And I definitely do. That's the biggest thing that I said to people, because if your body knows what time it's going to sleep, it's going to be able to get you to sleep a lot quicker. If it knows what time it's waking up in the morning, it's going to be able to wake you up feeling a lot more energetic. And it's not going to, as you said, mess with those other systems, the digestive system, your hormone release, what time you're releasing cortisol and melatonin and serotonin, all these hormones that make us feel different ways. No wonder people, feel pants on a Monday, because, that's what's happening.
That's so good, though, and you've reframed that really well. I think that what you've said there about the adulthood rather than the childhood, where, you sort of had that, your parents saying you've got to go to bed, it's bedtime, you need the rest, you're going to wake, that's taken away, and then you do feel like, I can sort of do what I want. And we all sort of have that era where we just go to bed when we want, wake up when we want. We say we're going to bed at a certain time. Like, say, I used to sit in bed, being on my phone, chatting to a girl, like, say, Snapchat with light on. We've all sort of been there, and that I've done sleepovers where you don't even get a wink of sleep. But it does, I guess when you're young, you don't necessarily feel so much of a hangover, or it taking, obviously if you do it as a one-off, but then obviously later in life, it can have an impact.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd love your advice, Luke, because I wanted to encourage people to do this. Like, I'd like people to question these norms, and I'd like it to be seen as a positive thing, for people to be excited about it and aspire to live that lifestyle. I was speaking to Emma recently about the fact I want it to be sexy to have a bedtime. I want people to look at people with bedtimes and think, oh, I aspire to live that life. In fact, actually, that's quite cool. And I'm going to do that because it means that I can be a better person for myself, for the people around me. I can be more fun. I can have more fun. Just doing this thing that has, stereotypes around it being boring and weird and childish. So I guess what I'd love to know your opinion on, Luke, is how do I make bedtime cool? How do I need to phrase this? Well, what do I need to do?
I mean, I think the first things first, what I hear a lot, right, in the business world, I love this question, by the way, is that obviously a lot of people associate how many years of your life you sleep. Okay, so obviously a lot of people, if we talk about the hustle culture, the grind, the sort of 3-4 hour sleep per night, I'm absolutely fine. Is that they don't want to miss out on opportunity of making millions and having all the freedom in the world. So to make it cool it's like, I think the best place to start with is make people aware of how, like, again, because it's awareness that engages people, right? Knowing where they are. So it's just, I don't know, maybe you can make it cool by actually stating like, look, this is an average person's time of their life that they sleep. However, you can obviously do the data because you've obviously picked it up on, okay, so you sleep 14 years of your life. Let's say if you live 80 years of your life, for an example. But actually, they still have no energy through the day. There's no productivity, obviously. I think it's just relating it to on a human level rather than a science level. I think like you could put your humor in on it. I think you could use your sort of jokes as well. I think put your sort of personality, what you shared today and who you were, like the class clown, like make sleep fun for people, make it a point of like, right, if you can engage in this, then this is going to be this is going to allow you to do this. Because obviously everybody wants a certain something. Well, sleep, I don't know, maybe you can relate it to energy, like sleep's the biggest thing that creates the energy in I don't know, sex or, like things like that, think about what people, like what we want as humans day to day. Like we want, we want someone's attention. We want to be loved. We want to be heard. So, well, if you don't have your sleep, then that's going to diminish or that's going to deteriorate. Or, I don't know, stuff like that. But using the seriousness of, look, this is what's going to happen, if you don't have quality sleep. However, turn it into a bit of a bit of a joke. I think from that, for me, I mean, I like I say, I'm a full advocate of sleep. Me, obviously. I do sleep really well. I have a routine. I'm a 9:30, 10 o'clock every night kind of guy. 6 a.m. wake up. That is me down to a T. That is 7 days a week. That's not even, like on the weekend. Like you talk about lions, that's not possible.
Yeah,
that's not possible when you got a toddler. That would sort of be my take.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I do try to use humor as much as I can because I think that's one of the main reasons that I struggled to learn how to sleep was there wasn't anyone doing it in a way that was engaging, that I wanted to listen to,
exactly,
and that I actually understood and that stayed in my brain. So it's my aim to fill that gap and be someone that people can enjoy listening to, and then the information sort of soaks in, and it's explained in a way using words that everyone understands instead of only the few who have studied a bit of science sort of thing. So yeah, I'll definitely do that. And then, just hammer home the benefits. I like what you said about, linking it to fun. And actually, if I can show people proof of me having more fun because I'm going to bed on time.
Yeah.
Then it takes away the argument that it's boring. Because actually, it's the opposite of boring. It means that I can have double fun, double energy, and feel good on a Monday. And actually, like, it's all well and good, not caring if you're not doing your best at work because you're not that invested in your job. But it's like, you might as well do a better job and feel better and then be performing better for your family after work and be able to go to the gym after work because you've slept well.
Yeah, I think, this is it. I mean, you could go down so many avenues, but I think there's one word that's sort of sticking out to me, by the way, is most people in the UK are worried about money, right? So you could literally say, well, you can actually save more money with better sleep.
Interesting.
Right? Now that doesn't mean that could literally just get people going, ooh, that's the hook, right? What does it mean by that? And then you go into your fun side and say, well, actually, I mean, just in terms of like sleep and energy, well, you make better decisions. So, for example, like in my game, right, like fitness, we're going off on a massive tangent here. We're getting towards the end. Just to sort of like finish it off, is that if you're tired, right, and you're exhausted and you've not organized anything, you've just got straight out of bed and you're like, oh my God, you're stressed, you get your bag, you run out the door, you go to work, you smash some coffee, sort of wake yourself up, you're stimulated, then you go and grab and go sort of food. 9 times out of 10, you're going to pick something and not even look at the calories, look at what you're doing. You're just going to pick it, eat it, grab it. It's not going to be good for you. It's not really going to fuel and nourish your mind and body. So that then you feel crap after, and then you think, you get home, you're absolutely starving. Your partner's cooked up a meal, you probably have 2 servings rather than 1, and then you sat there at night time, you're absolutely stodged, you want a bit of something sweet because you're still a bit like, you want a bit of something, pick me up, and then you go to sleep on that, and then you don't sleep great, and etc. etc. Whereas, yeah, it's that decision, it's that mind, it's that sort of control will come from, obviously, this is sort of better sleep. But I think where most people are interested in is money, right? Everybody talks about money day to day. They're scared of money. Obviously, the government literally batters every single day about inflation and taxes. And so I think if you really want to capture someone's attention, I think if you just say, look, I can help you save money by improving your sleep, I just think people are like, well, go on then. What do you mean? And then there's so much backing it up anyway. You know that there is, and then you can make it fun.
Yeah, definitely cool. I like that because there's you eat like loads more food if you're because your body goes into survival mode, and you can flip it as well, is that you can make more money if you're sleeping well because it enhances your productivity.
Exactly, it's true. Yeah, and you know where your money is as well. You might eventually, if you've got more sleep, you might go right. You might say to your partner, "Let's create a spreadsheet. Yeah. Let's look at our incoming, let's look at our outgoings, and let's look at where we can invest our money. Let's look at like a holiday this year. I didn't even, because you're focused, right? You've got more energy because you've got better sleep, right? And you're better to be around, and that shows. So, I think that'd be pretty cool. Well, look, Tommy, I've got to get to the end of this episode, man. Really, really good, great conversation. I'm sure we could have smashed this out for another couple of hours, but I want to ask this question because I do ask it every single guest, and I think this is going to be a great one for you as well, and I already know it's going to be a great answer. What does mastering your life mean to you?
Interesting. I'm on the spot now. What does mastering my life mean to me? I think a huge tipping point to me feeling as if I've mastered my life was learning to separate me from my thoughts and my emotions. As soon as I could look at my thoughts and my emotions from a third person perspective, they stopped leading me astray, and I felt in control and as if I was mastering my life from then on. Yeah, they do things that don't benefit me at times, but I don't take them seriously, and I can figure that out and work with them the best way I possibly can now. So as soon as I figured out that I am not my thoughts and emotions, and they are just a symptom of being a human being, and I can look at them and work with them and figure them out, that put me in the driver's seat. So The Untethered Soul is a book that I would recommend to anyone who would like to do the same. As soon as I read that book, I feel like, right, I'm in control of my destiny now. Wow.
That's amazing, Tommy. Thank you, mate, for sharing that. I love that version as well. And that's your own unique sort of version of that. Well, look, if anyone is just listening to this today, watching this back and wants to actually, connect with you, follow you on socials, or I don't know, maybe start a conversation, where would be the best place for them to engage?
Yeah, so there's a couple of places, like from like a short form content perspective. If you want that stuff, I post almost every day on Instagram and TikTok, and it's at Tommy G Sleep. And then from a workshop perspective, you can find me on LinkedIn, Tommy Graves, where we could chat there. But always, always, always weirdly excited to speak about sleep. So if you ever have any questions or just want to tell me stuff, I love having those conversations. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out. It's why I do what I do.
And you can tell as well, mate, it's dead genuine. So we will make sure that everything that you said there with regards to platforms are included in the show notes that are clickable. So, people can easily be directed there and learn more about sleep. So look, mate, thank you so much for spending and investing this time and energy with us today. It's been great. What a conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you so much for facilitating and asking the questions, man. It's nice to have someone that's interested and push me to think a little bit outside of the box and really question my own thoughts and feelings. So thanks for doing that. And I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Luke.
Thanks again, mate. I appreciate it.